So we are going to talk about the slope of a line. And we know there are multiple possibilities for a line to be on a graph. So I'm going to draw all possibilities and make you aware that oftentimes you can guess, in a multiple choice, the right answer or get closer to the correct answer if you know this concept. So if we have a line on a graph and it looks like that, then the slope is positive. If we have a line that goes like this, then the slope is negative. And you can see that line is flat. It's laying flat. So if it's flat, then, doesn't have a slope. Think of a ladder. If you put a ladder on the ground, lay it flat, then the ladder is not at a slope. It's not at an angle. It is laying flat. It has no slope. So the slope here is 0. And the last case, you have a vertical line. So if you have a vertical line, then the slope is undefined. So oftentimes you can simply guess by looking at the graph of a line as to what the slope would look like. Is the slope going to be positive, negative, 0, or undefined? So the general or the standard slope intercept form of a line, linear function, is simply y equals m times x plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And we know how to find that y-intercept. We just did it earlier. And slope is what we're going to focus on in this section. So how do we find the slope? Let me just pick or create a line. So find so I'll start with finding the slope between 2 points, and later on we can connect it to a line. So how do we find the slope? So the first point is 1, 2. So that point is right over here. And the second point is 3, 4. So 3, 4 is right over there. And arbitrarily, if I connect it by a line, the line is going up. I'm just connecting the 2 points by a line, with a line, and it's going up. So whatever answer that I'm going to get has to be positive. So you might have seen this earlier in middle school or high school. This is where the rise over run formula comes into play. So dotted line there and over there. So this part right here is the rise, and that part is the run. So the distance between, or the length of the rise part is 2 minus 4. The order matters as to how you subtract. So whatever order you use for the y values, you have to use for the x values also in the same direction. So what I'm going to do is give them a notation so we sort of can come up with the formula. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So on the graph, 1, 2 is simply x1, y1, and 3, 4 is x2, y2. So on the y-axis, the distance between the 2 points is the upper value for y, y2 minus y1. The x-axis, it should be x2 minus x1. So that is rise and that is run. So the slope m is simply y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. The order matters. If you switch the 2 and 1 in the numerator, you have to switch the 2 and 1 in the denominator. So I would strongly recommend that you keep the formula for slope as is and let it be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 is 4, y1 is 2. So 4 minus 2 divided by x2 is 3, x1 is 1, 4 minus 2 is 2, 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 over 2 is 1. And notice 1 is positive, and at the very beginning, I guessed that the slope will be a positive answer. And we get a positive answer, so I should be a bit more confident about my answer. So I know it's correct because the algebra is correct, and it sort of affirms my initial idea that the slope has to be positive. So here we have 4, 3 and 5, 7. So I'll call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is 7, 7 minus 3 divided by x2 is 5, x1 is 4, 5 minus 4. Numerator, 7 minus 3 is 4. Denominator, 5 minus 4 is 1. So the answer is 4. So I'm going to call the first point as x1, y1, x2, y2 for the second point. So the slope m, the formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is 4, y1 is -7. Anytime you have a negative number, it's better to put it within parentheses. So this way you don't make any mistakes. So minus -7 within parentheses, divided by x2 is -2 minus -1 inside parentheses. Now we could use, simple operations. So negative times negative is positive. So we have 4 plus 7 divided by -2. There is a positive sign there. So positive times negative is -2. Negative times -1 is +1. So we will have 11 over -1. That will give us -11. And if someone asked you, well, is this line, the line that's going through, is it increasing, it's decreasing? Well, in this case, since it's negative, the line that passes through the points will be decreasing. In other words, it will slant downwards. So this is a slanting downward slope. This simply would mean that the line is decreasing. Oops. And previous case, it slants upward. And that means the line is increasing. So here we have fractions, and once again, fractions, it's better to understand how to do algebra with them, because later on we will encounter rational functions, and in that case we need to find the common denominator and so forth, and they won't have any numbers. They, in the sense that there will be variables in the expressions. So you should know the basic concept from here and take it forward when we get to the other chapter. So I'm going to call the first point as x1, y1, second point, x2, y2. The slope m is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 is 3 over 4. y1 is 2. So we have 3 over 4 minus 2 divided by 2 minus 1 over 2. Of course, some of us would already know the answer. That's not the purpose of this problem. The purpose of this problem is to understand how to combine fractions so that we can use it later on during the semester. So I'm going to put the separating line, the line that separates numerator and denominator, in red. So I need a 4 down here below the 2 for me to combine the two fractions, or the fraction and the number, together. So 2 is the same as saying 2 divided by 1. Same applies here, 2 divided by 1 in the denominator. So we have 3 over 4, and I need to get a 4 right there. If I get a 4 there, then I can combine the fractions. I can't simply arbitrarily throw in a 4. I have to do it properly. So the way to introduce a 4 is to multiply and divide by 4. I didn't do anything wrong algebraically speaking, because 4 over 4 is just 1. I'm just rewriting 1 as 4 over 4 so that I get a 4 in the denominator of the 2. I'll do 2 over 2 here so that I get a 2 in the denominator over there, so I can combine those two. Minus 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. Denominator, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 1 over 2. We have a common denominator. If we have a common denominator, we can simply combine the numerators. So the 4 that's in common, and I combine the numerators, 3 minus 8. The common denominator 2, I combine the numerators, 4 minus 1. So now I will have negative 5 over 4 divided by 4 minus 1, which is 3 over 2. We have a fraction divided by a fraction. So you take the numerator and you multiply it by the reciprocal of the denominator. This is something that you might have heard before as flip and multiply. So you flip the denominator and you multiply it to the numerator. If I flip 3 over 2, I get 2 over 3. So I'm multiplying the numerator, which is negative 5 over 4, by 2 over 3. So negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. But before we get to that step, can we simplify? Well, I think we can. Well, 2 and 4 will get cancelled 2 times. So we simplified it to 5 over 2 times 1 over 3, because we have 1 there. And negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, and 2 times 3 is 6. So the slope is negative 5 over 6. And if I draw a line through those 2 points, that line would be decreasing because the slope is negative. So we have 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And the formula for the slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is negative 1. y1 is 1/3, so we have minus 1/3. The entire thing divided by x2 minus 1/2 minus x1, we have minus 4. Now the denominator here is 3. There it's 2. So we would like to have a 3 here and a 2 there. So we can multiply and divide the first term by 3. In the denominator, we can multiply and divide the 4 by 2. So negative 1 times 3 is negative 1, divided by 1 times 3 is 3, minus 1 over 3, divided by negative 1/2. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, over 1 times 2 is 2. I have a common denominator in the numerator. So you have 3, and you have -1, -1. And in the denominator, you have 2, and you have -1, -8. Since I have a common denominator, I can combine the numerators. So -1, -1 is -2/3, divided by -1, -8 is -9/2. I made one silly mistake. That should be a 3. So I forgot to multiply by 3. So the numerator is actually -4/3. Now we have a fraction divided by a fraction. So -4/3, flip and multiply, times -2/9. And negative times negative is positive. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 9 is 27. The slope is 8/27. The line is going to be increasing. In other words, it is going to be slanting upwards.